I was wrong and it was inappropriate of me. Actually, said koala bear is the Usain Bolt of the marsupial order. Hi everyone, you're either about to witness a thrilling threesome or a tense makeup love triangle. I've got 3 brands. The first, Glaminatrix, known for their great eyeshadows that they say go from wearable to wow. Then Laura Geller, who's all about accessible, wearable, mature skin friendly makeup. And finally, Merit, which is all about being minimalistic and restrained. The question is, which one, if any, are you going to fall in love with? So having banged on ad nauseam about the Merit Minimalist foundation stick, which I really like, as I'm sure you know by now, Merit have brought out the uniform. Here it is. Looks like this. You get 50 ml and it's an SPF 50, which is terrific. And this is the delivery system. It's a pump action, so you're not squeezing a tube. It's just one of those squeezy, pumpy things, which is really good, I think. Let's take a look at what one pump gives us and what the viscosity is like. So that's one pump, and let's see, is it traveling? Yep, it's traveling. Okay, that's what it looks like. I'm going to use 2 pumps, only because I'm going to use a brush, not my fingers, because that's my preferred method. And let's see, now remember with a brush, the brush does absorb a lot of it, so it may not be indicative of quite how much you're going to get if you're going to use your fingers. All I've got on in terms of skincare is my moisturiser, which as it happens is the Lancome Rénergie, which has got an SPF 50 on, because that's what I'm wearing on my second jar actually of it. But normally I put on a sunscreen on top of that, but I haven't done that today. I'm going to put this on, let's see, it's nice and thin. Now, realistically, in order for us to get the full sun protection factor, we've got to use a teaspoon on the whole face, which I think if I did that with this would probably be a bit too makeup-y for what I use. I'm not going to be using it in that way as my only SPF because I just don't want that amount of colour on me. However, having extra SPF on top with a tinted shade is something I've become increasingly interested in, so that's how I think I'm going to use this. Now that's going on very nicely, although because I'm using a brush, a lot of it has been absorbed in the brush, so I'm going to use another pump and see how that goes. Now this has got quite a lot of benefits. They say it is a light as air finish, which it is a light. It is a light texture. Let's see what the finish is like once we've finished. Broad spectrum UVA, UVB protection, and the sheer tint is never greasy or cakey. Well, it's certainly not cakey at the moment, but we'll have to leave it to give it to dry down. Plus what I'll do is I'll go about my day and then check in with you so that you can see what it looks like after a few hours. It says fine natural powders give a blurring effect and it gives us a soft velvety finish. Now velvety finish implies not shiny, but let's see. Blendable even coverage owing to proprietary pigment dispersion. Oil-free, no silicons, non-comedogenic and dermatologically tested. Now this is not meant to give us any flashback, which is obviously, well, which is often associated with mineral zinc oxide SPFs. And actually what has put me off them over the years. Not that I'm being pursued by the paparazzi on a daily basis, but just in case, I like to be prepared. I would say that is a light application. I could put more on. I have got some more left, so I'll put some more on my nose, or some on my nose, because I think because it sticks out so much, I tend to forget to cover my nose until the last minute, which isn't very good. Now, all I've got, I should say, apart from the Lancome moisturiser, I have got some Givenchy Peach colour corrector and my Estee Lauder Double Wear concealer. I used this today. I wouldn't ordinarily have used it, but I used this today because it's self-setting, so I don't need to use any powder, because I don't want to use any powder at all on my face when I'm doing the wear test for this, because then I think that's going to give you the best, most realistic test, really. Got a bit more. Got quite a bit left, actually. So this is the third pump. Let's use it all up. I do feel that I'm getting more coverage than on a tinted moisturiser, but I also can see that it's slowly over time drying down, which is what I want it to do. So what I might do is finish the application, we'll do a little bit on my eyes, then I'll wait a little bit, and then I'll start the clock ticking on the wear test so you can really see what happens to it. So I think realistically, to do my whole face, that's 2 pumps, but it is a light application. It's not, we're not going to get a medium application out of this. I'd have to put a lot more on. And then I think in a way, we're treating it as a different product because it is a light, it's meant to be a light, an SPF, but with a light makeup finish as opposed to a medium coverage. And of course, if that's what you wanted to do, I don't think it would be a problem because it's not sticky. I don't think you're going to be left in a sticky mess, which is always just a bit soul destroying, really. Now, it does say apply generously 15 minutes before sun exposure and reapply every 2 hours after physical activity. No chance of that around here. And or exposure to water. So they're saying very much use it as your main SPF on your face. I'm just not going to do that because I don't want to put 1 teaspoon of this, a whole teaspoon of this on my face. But if you were to do that, that is what they suggest. Now, the last thing that I want to tell you that they suggest is follow with the minimalist for additional coverage. So if you really wanted, perhaps if you wanted to use it as concealer, which I do actually when I'm out and about, just not to have another thing to have to carry in my makeup bag. But I'm not going to do that on this occasion because, as I said, I've already put my concealer on. I just want to give you a sort of a realistic sort of a test as possible. Okay, now in terms of coverage, this might be a smidge dark, but let's just see what happens to it. Yeah, it's always difficult, isn't it? Because of course my hands are lighter because I'm forever washing them, and I don't do the self-tan thing, so I'm very much shades of medium tan. So this is what this looks like. I would say there's a bit of glow, but I don't think it's shiny. That's what I would say. Just wonder what you think. Now let's let that do its thing, and let's try a couple of the other products as well. So in the 15 minutes that have elapsed, I was just doing some eyeshadow swatches to show you, and I put a little bit of clear lip gloss on just to keep my lips hydrated. I think now it has mattified a little bit. I wouldn't call it, for me, I wouldn't call it a velvety finish because you haven't got that foundation velvety quality to it. I would say it's a semi-matte finish, and I do like it. The way it applied with this MAC brush, which I will list down below, it didn't go streaky, it wasn't difficult, as you saw me do it, it wasn't difficult to apply. I didn't feel I had to keep blending it in. It did go on really nicely. So I've got high hopes that this is going to last well throughout the next few hours. Let's see how long it lasts. I do like the finish, however. As I said, it's not velvety. I never expected it to be velvety. I find that a slightly odd term to use, but it is a nice, it doesn't feel makeup-y. Now, as you know, I did a light finish. I used a light application. I used 3 pumps. I would say realistically it's 2 pumps, isn't it? Because the brush absorbs so much. And I was left with maybe half a pump probably on the back of my hand because I did have to wipe it off with a baby wipe. There was quite a lot still on the back of my hand. But I do like it. I think it's blended in nicely. And also the other thing I will say, you know how I said to you I've got the concealer on? It blended nicely into the concealer. It doesn't feel like there's a tide mark, which I have had in the past. So it did seem to play well with a concealer that is a fuller coverage concealer. But let's see how it goes. Glaminatrix have brought out the Nearly Natural palette. Looks like this. And let me show you the delightful shades, which are actually reimagined from a previous palette of theirs, and they're reimagined and revamped. This is what they look like. So you've got 10 mattes and 10 corresponding metallics. Now they are a mixture of duochromes and straight metallics. Here is the lighter range, which is the top 2 rows. You can see the 5 metallics there and the 5 corresponding mattes. And then the deeper shades, again, 5 mattes and 5 corresponding metallics. So this is both of them. Let's show you. There we go. Now there's a real range here, isn't there? So I thought it was worth applying some now, but we're going to do a natural look. So in other words, on this occasion, I won't be doing or using these shades, and anybody who has lingered on this channel for a nanosecond will know these are actually the colours I really adore because I love greens. So I'll save those for a future video. But this time I will focus on these. So the aim will be to do something that's quite soft. I mean, maybe I'll end up being tempted to dip into these, but actually I want to keep all this very soft because we have got Merit's uniform on and a soft blush as well is going to go on. So that's my aim here. Let's see if I've got the self-discipline to stick to it. Now I'm just going to go in using this side of the palette mainly, so just to have quite a muted and gentle look. Now I originally ordered this palette because I am interested in buying, and I will buy, the Grounded / Tones of Turd palette. And I did say in a previous video, which I think was a will I buy it video, that I wasn't sort of hopeful that the palette that I'd ordered, which was this one, would arrive in good time, because I did read in their small print disclaimer that for the UK, I think it was the UK or maybe Europe in general, it could take up to 3 months for delivery. And I made a very cheap quip about an arthritic koala bear. And you know what? I came to mock and I stayed to enjoy because I was wrong and it was inappropriate of me. Actually, said koala bear is the Usain Bolt of the marsupial order because this arrived within 9 working days. Now, I should say, as a comparison, I have ordered from Viseart in January. That took 3.5 weeks to come, and actually that was in America. Of course, that's from America. By the time it arrived, I'd completely lost interest, and actually it has stopped me reordering from Viseart, which is probably a bit unfair because not only are the products lovely, but maybe I was just unlucky. It's just that if it arrives so long that you've forgotten and lost interest, then that's worse than what happened here, where I was really hotly anticipating things and then I was beyond excited when it arrived. Anyway, just to tell you a little bit about Glaminatrix in case you don't know, it is an indie brand. It is, as I've said, based in Australia. This palette in particular is a neutral, earthy palette, and there are these pans, this is interesting, magnetic, so you can just pop them out and put other ones in, which actually ties in nicely with something I'll show you at the end of the video, which is something else that I bought from them, which may well actually be of interest as well. This palette is newly imagined, and it is full of revamped shades and updated shades, but as I said, I did not buy the previous incarnation of this, so I don't know how it compares. I can tell you that as I've been chatting to you and putting this on, these are just dreamy. They feel so nice on the lids, just really soft and smooth and very, very easy. Just really, really nice. Now I'm going to use my finger to see what happens when I do this. I'm just going to put it with my finger, then I'll blend it a little bit with a blusher brush. Not blusher brush, sorry, eyeshadow brush. Okay, so that's that one. I'll do the same on this side. And as I said, I want to do something relatively easy. I know I'm not going for a fully matte look, but this is still quite a soft look. I'll put a bit more of barely there, just here. Now this is £43. I should say it's got a 12-month expiry and it's made in China. Hitherto, from what I have read, Glaminatrix was sort of handmade in Australia, and as they got bigger, things took longer to make, of course, because they were somewhat overwhelmed, deservedly so, I would say, so far anyway. And so of course they've had to go to or rather choose to have some products made in a factory. That's why this one is made in China. That's rather nice. I'll put a little bit of Untouched, the darker shade, just here. So I'm just putting a bit of this in the corner, and then let's see if we can use something a bit lighter. I'm just using a little bit of Solace, which is this one here, that one. And we'll blend it in. I'll tell you what I'm thinking at the moment, that for £43, you get an awful lot of bang for your buck, because these are going on absolutely seamlessly, and they've got that combination of being pigmented, but not so pigmented that you have to be really careful. They build really nicely, and they seem to go on very uniformly. There's no patchiness so far at all. It's not dragging or feeling as I said, it's not that patchy quality. They're lovely and smooth. They really are. Okay, so look, I'll put a little bit more on the lid, and I've used Nearly Natural. I've used that one here. I'm going to put a little bit of this one next to it, which is called, what is it called? Sultry. Let's see. I'm just going to do it with my finger, that's all. I'm not going to do anything sort of, yeah, we'll just put a little bit of that on top. We'll put a bit of Sultry on top of Nearly Natural. And while there is shimmer and metallic, it doesn't feel too scary. That's what I would say. I'll use the same little Refa 23, I can never remember the numbers, I'm sorry, that I used on the lower lid. I'm just going to put a little bit using probably Disrobe, which is this one here from the darker range, that one there. And I'll use a little bit of that on the upper lid, but I'll just go easy because I do want to keep this quite light, just to give it just a little bit of definition inside the lids, inside the lashes. So I'll just put it in there and wiggle it about. So I've put my mascara on, black in the Dior, the new Dior mascara, and my lower lashes, brown in the Sephora size up. Really like these. They're nifty and they're good value, and it's just a good mascara to have. Comes in different colours, but the brown I do like. Anyway, let me bring you in a little bit closer so you can look at the eyeshadows. There was a teeny bit of fallout which I addressed by using my whatever was left from the Merit on the same brush and just dabbed it on. But just to show you close up what the eyeshadow looks like. It just blended in really nicely. Okay, so now onto the blusher, which I'm very excited about. Laura Geller is one of those brands that I have on and off used for years and years and years, not least the Balance and Brighten and the Balance and Glow compact foundation, which I just found really useful, really nifty, particularly when my children were teeny tiny and I just needed to even out the old skin tone. I should say, if you buy from their website, they have very often got fantastic discounts, and that was how I bought these. So I bought 2 of these marbleized blushes. They retail at £29. I definitely didn't pay that for them. I think it was on a 35% discount or something like that. I was interested in the new shade, which is Cherry Custard. How's that for a name? They look like this. They've got a little half mirror at the top, and that's what that looks like. They are very much marbleized in the sense that it's a baked formula, and this one is they describe as a warm rose / bright pink. I'll swatch it for you in a minute. And while I was there, I also bought Sunswept. Both of these are a satin finish, I should say. Look at that. That's how they compare. Obviously they're completely different shades. And Sunswept, which is this one, bronze, copper and pink tones, and as I said, this one is a warm rose and a bright pink. Let me swatch them for you. As I said, only the Cherry Custard is a new shade to Laura Geller, but they're both new to me. That's what they look like. Now I'm going to use the Cherry Custard today, and I will use Sunswept in another video. So let's use the new one first. I've got my blusher brush here. I'm going to use the Hourglass, this one here, just because I'm not sure how it's going to go on. So I'll use a smaller brush than I might ordinarily do if I was a bit more confident. I'll just build it up gently. And actually, I just want to say, remember I've got the Merit uniform on. It's not going, the blusher's not going on patchily on top of the Merit, which I think quite possibly with other tinted moisturisers it would have done, because they tend to be a bit stickier. So I'm pleased with that. Gosh, that's building up more than I would have anticipated, but that's okay. We can use the rest of the Merit on there. So I need to go easy. Well, at least you're seeing the colour. This is a very nice shade. That's what that looks like. Yeah, I rather like this. I like the shade. I do like the shade. And I like the way it's really committed to the cherry, if not the custard. Okay. as I said, that's what it looks like on the back of my hand next to Sunswept. And I think it's probably right, isn't it? Because it says it's a warm rose / bright pink. So you can see you can see that with a marbleized effect, which is this Laura Geller's calling card, these baked formulas from Italy. And that's actually what's so good about both Balance and Glow and Balance and Brighten as foundations, in that they're very much built-in colour correcting. So here we are getting a little bit of a sheen and a little bit of a shift in the nicest possible way. I think it's not flat. There's nothing worse on a mature skin like mine that's also dry than a one-dimensional blush. I am here for a more dimensional blush. I really am. I just find it more flattering and more forgiving and just softer all round. But what do you think? And have you used Laura Geller before? Let me know. And let me know what you think of this makeup. I will be down in the comments below, so I would love to hear from you. I'm going to go about my day and I will come back, and so you can see how the Merit has actually worn. I'm not concerned. I don't know whether you are. If you're concerned, let me know. I'm not concerned about the eyeshadows fading or even the blusher doing anything. But let's see how the Merit wears, not least because, as I said to you before, it does sort of say I'll reapply every couple of hours. I think it's probably been a good hour since I originally applied it. So it's obviously still there. But let's see, and I will be back and I'll see you shortly. Okay, so almost 8 hours has elapsed, and looking at the Merit uniform, it hasn't moved. It's just lovely. If anything, it carried on getting a bit more matte, which I did appreciate because I'd rather that there wasn't too much shine. But it's just lovely. As you saw, the blusher sat on it nicely and blended nicely, even though I did put too much blusher on, I think. But it's just lovely. I'm looking at the mirror. It's not separated. It's not really done anything at all. It's just got a very nice finish. I'm really pleased with it. I'll tell you what I really like, even though I don't mind having to put some powder on. The reality is, especially on holiday and in high summer, I want to do the minimum, really. And if I'm going to spend any time on my makeup, apart from putting the complexion product on, I'd rather spend some time on putting some mascara on and some eyeliner and whatever. So frankly, it's another step I don't want to have to do. So I'm really pleased with it. I like the fact that it's quite a simple thing to do. I am not going to use this as my only source of SPF, and it probably feels unwise to do that anyway, frankly, given where we're at. The SPF 50 is a really lovely bonus for me, and that means a lot because it does mean that on holiday and so on, you're kind of constantly mitigating risk, aren't you, in terms of sun exposure. So that's a really good thing. I've taken photographs already with it. There is absolutely no flashback. I mean, it just looks great. I'm really, really pleased. I think the colour for me personally is a smidge too dark, but it probably won't be in another couple of weeks. It did occur to me that what I should have done is shown you the difference between this product, between the uniform and Camel, which is the shade that I wear in this, just in case you too are a shade twin in this range. So that is what it looks like. So we've got Camel, which is the foundation stick in the Minimalist, and then we've got the uniform here. Although I should say that blends, there we go, that's probably more indicative. So there is a difference. Now, I should say that Camel at the moment in the foundation stick is a smidge too light for me. And I haven't done it yet. I was going to order the next shade up, which is Khaki. I largely suspect Khaki is going to be closer to that. So that's probably, as I said, it's probably it is a bit dark for me now, but in a couple of weeks' time, it won't be. Although if you look at it sideways on, I know it's difficult with the lighting. You can see there is a grade between my neck and my jawline, but as I said, it really is just a couple of weeks away, and it won't be. That's the difference. I am really pleased with this, and I love the fact that it's not super shiny. Glow is fine, but Glow can really tip into a Vaseline look, and that's not the kind of lubrication I'm interested in, really. So no. This for me is a real plus. It's also a really good price point. It's just really nicely put together. In terms of the eyeshadow palette, what do you think? I'm interested in knowing what you think. I like the way these light shades have got a combination of buildable pigment without going muddy, without being difficult to blend, and even the shimmers are not crazy shimmers. They're not very out there metallics. They're still easy to blend and soft. So I'm really pleased with this. When I look at the palette as a whole, and I'm just reminding you of what it looks like, there's a real range of shades. It definitely goes from the lightest to the darkest, and I do feel I'm getting I know I said it before, I do feel you're getting a lot of value for money actually with £43. I will be doing more looks with these on shorts and reels on Instagram, so look out for those. And if you're not following me on Instagram, please do, and TikTok, please do, because I do lots of different get ready with me there, and you also see me making a bit of a fool of myself, getting a load of stuff wrong, but it's real life, isn't it? And I think you already know that I am far from professional, so it's probably worth having a little laugh at me. But I will be doing more of these. Particularly, I'm interested in these shades, and this fascinates me, this one here, which I think they're called, what are they calling? Essence, and then Down to Earth. Okay, so there we go. Very much up my street. Yeah, for me, the eyeshadows have been a success. And also, it's got that thing where I feel that I've got myself a treat, but I haven't had to pay very much for it. I should tell you, I paid £11 postage for this. And as I said, it didn't take long at all to come. How slowly is it going to come? Turns out it's going to be really slow, because then I read the small print and my order could take up to 3 months to arrive on my doorstep. I'm imagining an arthritic koala bear holding a bit of eucalyptus so he's got a little snack for the journey, and basically making his way very slowly across to my doorstep. In terms of the blusher, the Laura Geller, as ever, she doesn't disappoint, I have to say. I just feel I've got a nice dimensional blush that's easy, blendable, and just really nice. I love the colour. Cherry custard, fantastic. Now, as an extra, when I ordered the Glaminatrix palette, I had another little noodle around the website, and I came across their single eyeshadows, which are only £6. Actually, I think some of them are cheaper. And I chose 2 because I'm always in the market for something that's not so much going to replace Urban Decay Space Cowboy, but it's going to double up as a little single eyeshadow that I can smush or smidge onto the eyelids, particularly in the summertime, for a bit of sparkle and a bit of pizzazz. Anyway, to that end, I chose 2 colours, and I'd like to show them to you. Here they are. So this one is called Majestic, and it's a duochrome, which is a gold with pink and green reflects. You see that there? Yep. And this one, which is called Gleam, do that there, you can see it there. And that is purple, green, magenta, and gold flecks. Gleam is a multi-chrome. So we've got a multi-chrome and a duochrome. Now, these just come in these little envelopes, which you open up, and they are metallic magnetic bases, as are the compact that I've reviewed today. That's also, each one has got a magnetic base, and you can buy a little compact. The thing is, I was so overwhelmed, frankly, because there's over 100 of these to choose from, all of them either matte, duochrome or multichrome. So I got a bit excited, and as I said, it was a bit overwhelming. What I didn't do is read the small print, which is you can basically buy a little pan to slot these in, which I didn't do. But I rather think this is not my first and last foray into these. I will be ordering more because they're just already compelling. I've not even tried them on, and I'm just so excited. So which one am I going to put on my eyes today? I might put one of each just to show you, shall I? Because even though we've got these on the base, as you know, it might be worth just having a little play to have a look. May I just show you both Space Cowboy and Solstice in Urban Decay? These are the 2 that I use the most, actually, for this kind of thing. Now, this is my second Space Cowboy. You can see I've hit pan. And this is my Solstice. Actually, it's my first Solstice. Now, they've got that funny patterner, because what I tended to do was to use some of the Charlotte Tilbury setting spray on the old brush and just put it on. But I rather suspect I didn't actually need to, but I wanted a bit more pigment from them, which is why I did it. I think with this I'm not going to need it. But let me just show you. So this is Solstice, and here's Space Cowboy. See, they're very different. They're not so much more subtle, but there's less depth to them. So just to be clear, they're the two at the bottom. But I do enjoy wearing both these Urban Decays. I might just do it with my finger. I fear the fallout, but I'd rather do it with my finger only because I've already got eyeshadow on. And then if we think it's successful, maybe on the next video, I'll do a little bit of a trial with some setting spray as well. But let's see what they're like in the raw, as it were. So this is going to be Majestic, which is the gold with pink and green reflects. So it just sort of comes like this, and it's literally just a loose pan like that. Let's try it. I'll go quite easy on it because I think you get an awful lot of pigment in these. Now, I do realise I'm going on top. And actually, this was one of the reasons why I didn't think £11 was too bad for postage, because I got the compact, I got the palette, and I got these two. And I thought for £11 for halfway around the world was not a bad deal. I really didn't. And it's not going to stop me ordering from them. It's really not. So I've brought you in closer so you can have a look. On this side here, we have the Duochrome, which is gold with pink and green reflects. And then on this side, we've got the Multichrome, which is Gleam, and that is purple, green, and magenta and gold. The question is, are they sufficiently different from each other? What do you think? I mean, this one seems much more sparkly to my eye, but I do wonder what you think. I mean, I don't know whether it's one of these eyeshadows that you've really got to see the glint of your eye closing, or whether you can actually see it. If I was, as I'm talking to you now, having a conversation, would you still be able to see it? Let me know in the comments. Which one, if any, do you like? And which one do you prefer, if you do? The other thing I just want to say, that when everything arrived, it was so beautifully packaged and so carefully put together for something that was coming halfway around the world. Honestly, it's a really big deal, because I have had far more expensive brands from the States arrive in pieces because somebody's just thrown it into a box and not cared about it and written fragile on the box, like that makes any difference. So kudos to them. So well done, Glaminatrix. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Do subscribe, do give me a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.